Everybody? How are we doing on sound, okay?
Yeah, we need about 30 seconds now. We just hit
Okay. We're just getting it, I guess it's getting it live streamed already? Yep, okay. You'll give me the nod? Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'll call the September 21st, 2022 regular meeting of council to order at 5:30 p.m. Our penultimate, second last meeting of this council. And Councillor Howie did send regrets, so we are six tonight. As we start our meeting, I'll acknowledge that we are in the area of Treaty 3 within the traditional territory of the Sioux First Nation, and that many of the people and communities we serve are in Treaties 5 and 9. I'd also like to acknowledge tonight that we have in our audience an Order of Canada winner and a former municipal councillor, Garnet Anjikanev. Welcome, Garnet. Amendments to the agenda?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes. Item 7.2 will need to be deleted from the agenda. We had placed it on initially thinking that the cost wouldn't be incurred during the restricted acts period, but we've since learned that an initial down payment will be required during that period. So that decision will be made administratively and will be reported back to council formally once the restricted acts period ends.
Thank you. Motion that the agenda for the regular council meeting of September 21st be approved as amended. Moved by Councillor Fenlon, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. And we have a motion to adopt the minutes of the statutory public meeting and the regular council meeting held on August 24th, 2022 be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And a motion that the minutes of the Cedar Bay Development Ad Hoc Committee meeting held on August 17th, 2022 be received. Moved by Councillor Fanlon, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. And a motion to receive the minutes of the District of Kenora Home for the Aged meeting held on May 26, 2022. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Fanlon. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And we'll go through the items requiring separate discussion. Staff report 7.1, electronic monitoring policy. Councillor Lego. 7.3, 2022 Fire Master Plan and Community Risk Assessment. Councillor Cassidy. 7.4, Municipal Operating Budget to Actual 2022. 7.5, NOHFC Recreation Project. 7.6, 104 3rd Street, Hudson. Correct? This is Hudson, just for clarity. 104 3rd Street, Hudson. Thank you. Zoning bylaw amendment. 7.7, establishing compliance audit committee. Thank you. A motion to adopt the items not requiring separate discussion, and that would be item 7.4, item 7.5, 7.6, and 7.7. Moved by Councillor Bath, seconded by Councillor Fenelon. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And now we'll move to, correctly this time, delegations. We have a delegation respecting long-term care bed status. And the presenter is Mr. Douglas Semple, the President and CEO of the Sioux Maniyawan Health Center. So welcome, Douglas. Would you like to come up to the table and maybe just help with the microphone there? Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Put this on. Get into the record.
Yeah.
And there's a button that should be on, just on your upper lapel there, Douglas. Thanks.
Should be ready. Okay, thank you.
Well, Douglas, the table is yours and the questions are ours.
All right. Okay, thank
Off you go.
Your worship, members of the council, take this opportunity to thank you for having me here this evening to provide an update on the very important subject that is a very important subject to all of us. I think the letter of invitation that was sent to me, I think it did a good job in terms of providing the update. There is that's in fact that's where the project is at. But there's a part of it that I need to speak to. When I first began this position that I'm in now, which was beginning of June, Brian Pollard, Assistant Deputy Minister of Long-Term Care, Capital Development, reached out to me, and we had a discussion in which he said that the Maniyawan Long-Term Care Project was one of the files that he wanted to work on and to bring to some conclusion. And with that being said, he talked to us about the funding part of it, and the formulas that they were using to work it through. Again, I don't have the specifics of the formula with me, but however, using those formulas, I had our chief financial officer to rework the spreadsheet that was done before, and we sent that into his office, as well as to the Ontario North, the executive director, Brian Kedor, and we have not had a response as of yet with that spreadsheet that we sent into their system. So, and I think that we are in the process of going back and forth into some form of a negotiations that often happens in these type of projects. And the first go at it, we found that the funding part of it, using what they gave us, was still not enough. So we put together another spreadsheet that which is in their office, and hopefully that they'll come back to us with some kind of a further discussion on it. Hopefully they'll send us a check. But I think in the next month or so we're going to know how it will turn out. But I do know that the people that are in our office are saying that we cannot do the mortgage that they got back to us on it. So that's where it is at, and hopefully, as I said, in the next while we'll be able to bring some good news that we are going to get underway. But as soon as we receive word from the minister, we're going to be ready to get underway. We've worked at this project for so long that we're just raring to go in. So, yeah.
All right. You'll take some questions, or?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Council questions. Councilor Lego.
Has there been any dialogue or interest from the federal government for funding?
Well, there's always been that possibility, but I don't. To this date, I don't think there's been any formal discussion or dialogue that has happened there. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'd sure like to be able to start that part of it, particularly if I can get the Northern First Nation communities mobilized towards doing something as they did with the CT scanner project that happened. We had young people that did walkathons and whatnot. I'd like to be able to see if I can mobilize the northern communities to do that kind of.
Yeah, that was my second point about mobilization.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's all I have.
Councilor Timpson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, what is the hospitals, how are they going to respond to this Bill 7?
Yeah, well, I think we did respond already, and it's contained in the latest bulletin. In there, Dean, our chief operating officer, stated that we're not intending to comply with the legislation, mainly because we've always said to ourselves and to the community here and also up north that this is where we want our people to be taken care of, and I know that it's simple to say that, but I know that if a day ever comes that when push comes to shove, we may not have the choice, but for the time being, we are saying that we don't want to comply with that. We want to keep our people here for as long as we can, and even like we are working for space. Like the long-term care is our solution for our long-term care and the ALC patients that are in our facility to go into that long-term care facility that we're working on it. So and I just can't see it. I just can't see it happening where we have to let our ALC patients go to a facility that's far away from their home. Like even in this town of Sioux, people that have always lived here and worked to create this town and to support this town. They need our help to continue to stay in this town, if that is their wish. And I was just, like we developed our facility in such a way that there is cultural supports for the people up north. Like we've invested so much in that, and a lot of these other facilities that are far away from our home, they don't have that. So they would go into those facilities with everything taken away from them that has been familiar to them to this point in their life. And oftentimes that does something to a person. It affects their will to live, I think, when you are helpless at that stage in life. And so we just want our people to remain here as much as that we can able that. So I don't know if I have time to tell another story, a small one. There was a gentleman by the name of Shmandi Gizik. He was from Black Sioux, and that's where he grew up. He was a pillar of his community. He had gifts in his life where he supported his people. Like if they were lost out in the wilderness, he had an ability to be able to go and find them. And that was a great gift that he provided for his community. And then he also had other gifts that he used to strengthen his community and his people. He had an ability to be able to look somewhat into the future and be able to tell what the weather would be like maybe a week or even a couple months down the line, and then he would be able to help the hunters and the trappers plan their going into the land to practice what they have always done. So that's what Shamanti was. He ended up in our hospital because he started to get dementia, and at some point in time there was a pressure to have him move to another facility, and he ended up down south of here towards the border, and then from there he declined rapidly, and then he passed away. So I think we owe it to our elderly people to provide what we can so that they have comfort at the end stage of their life. That's my belief, and I hope that answers your.
Anything further, Councillor Timpson?
Just that there is a resolution later on in the agenda that I propose that this legislation be suspended for this area until there
Well, I think it would support us in our ongoing negotiations with the ministry. But the one that I talked about earlier, Brian Pollard, we show him this is we are supported by the municipality of Sioux in trying to get our long-term care facility in place as soon as possible.
Just one other question. When you said that Minneapolis will not comply with the legislation, I guess the first thought that came to my mind is, what if the ministry somehow retaliated with that stance? Where would we go from there?
Well, the way the legislation is written for this particular area, which is with Northern Ontario, it talks about sending people like in our hospital that are ALC and who are actively looking for long-term care beds. It has to be within 150 kilometers away from Sioux. And I've looked at the geography of the location of the long-term care facilities that is close to us. The one that fits is Atagocan, just barely. But I do think that we need to have some kind of activism if they start to pressure us that we need to comply. I think we need some kind of activism from within the town of Silicon and even from the northern communities to say that we don't want this. We want to continue to press our agenda on with creating our long-term care facility, which will address the issue that they're trying to force on us.
Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, I'm curious, the story you told about relocating the elder down to Fort. So in the processes within the hospital, how does it work where you guys get a phone call from someone and are directed to move that person, or who makes that decision to move a patient?
Well, in like say within the context of the legislation, it would be from the ministry that we get a call from the ministry. Like we want to look at your situation. They would come in and look at the base that we have, and then determine from there who should move to a different facility. I think it's a process, but I don't quite readily know what the exact details of the process that may be employed.
Yeah. Councillor Lego.
Just to add, I think it would have been the LIN before, and now Ontario Health.
Yeah.
And the position is there's something called placement coordination, and there's a placement coordinator who doesn't work for a facility. They work for the ministry or the Ontario Health, and they're the one who looks around and makes the placements of people. It's rather impersonal. Yeah. Council, anything further? Douglas, I have a question. That over the years, what we've been allocated is 96 beds, which is a multiple of 32. And they like to develop, it used to be long-term care multiples of 32 for staffing arrangements. That may change with different ratios now that are developing. But I've heard over the years periodically that First Nations would like to have long-term care in their community, in one of their communities, which would probably break up the allocation. I can understand why they would like it. I also understand that might further delay this process. Is that a factor right now or not?
I think about that, and I think if there was actually serious discussions from within like from the ministry and as well as the First Nations that's interested in that, I think what would happen is that I think it would not go anywhere. That's what I'm thinking, because the long-term care beds are highly regulated, and then I don't believe the community would have the capacity to work with those regulations, and plus the fact that those regulations call for certain expertise of to be run, like certain expertise that need to be part of the long-term care facility, and if we look at it, like even if it's an RN with long-term care experience, we have a hard time attracting that kind of facility even here in Sioux, and trying to attract those kind of expertise up into the remote north. Plus you have to determine the cost of housing them and compensation and so forth. I think it would be just too much.
Okay, so I'll take comfort in that it
Yeah.
seems to be your considered opinion that that's not a factor right now.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think with the First Nations discussing that keeping their elders in their communities, they have to talk with the federal government to be able to have facilities that would allow them to do that. But they would not be. It would not be to the extent of the long-term care facility as we know it down in the south, which is like highly regulated.
So it'd be more like more home care,
Yeah,
assisted living,
yeah.
supported
Yep.
supported living. Okay.
Mhm.
Before, good. I'll go to Councillor Lego. Yep.
No, I think that's where I see a lot of things heading, would be to keep people in their homes as long as possible. That might be more of an issue in the north.
Mhm.
But also, I think when Menayawan is in discussions with the government, they should also be talking about housing for staff as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So that should be hand in hand together.
Yeah. Well, we try to keep that in mind as we talk to them, and that's why we are always banging heads in terms of the project costs.
Thank you.
Council, anything further? Before I let you go, I'm just going to ask Garnet, have you had any questions or comments? Just give you the opportunity if you'd like to. Hold on, Garnet. I think Douglas will share his. Thank you.
You can just open it. Okay, let me start again. Thank you, Your Worship, and members of council, for allowing me to speak for just a few minutes, or just a minute. Really appreciate being talked about here, and Mr. Semple, thank you for the presentation. I can't help but feel like you're talking about me in so many ways, and me and so many others in the community. I think Councillor Lego picked up on something that he said, and that was to keep people at home as much as possible, as long as possible. I'm totally convinced that I can still be living at home in my little apartment at Sioux Towers, and not have to live at the Solicote Menayawan Health Center as one of the alternative level of care patients, which Bill C7 is going to impact starting today, I believe. And so I think what needs to happen, at least in my opinion, is that we need to look at existing services that are available here and to be able to enhance some of the services that are available, let's say at Sioux Towers. Let's say that it can be shared at places like Cole Terrace, Patricia Plaza, and that those services be enhanced and increased, and so that people can live at home and rely on the services that are already there but can easily be enhanced. I'm totally convinced of that, such as hiring more personal support workers, even though that's short there's a shortage of those people, but there are creative ways I think that can be done to attract more people like PSWs to work in there. Also, maybe even consider a part-time or an on-call nurse to work within those three places, so that that could alleviate some of the pressures that are being presented at Minoawan. So I think there are creative ways that can be done. Another thing is looking at programs of the past. They may or may not still exist, I can't remember now, but there's one called Northern Independent
Services,
NILS for short.
Northern Independent.
Anyway, it was a program that was help subsidize an individual to hire a PSW or a home health care worker. That I did qualify for that. However, we couldn't find a person for that. So there are existing programs I think that could be realigned, reshaped, re-envisioned to meet current needs here in Sioux Lookout and certainly in northwestern Ontario that maybe that southern Ontario doesn't have. So there are ways that things can be done to get the same results as what Bill C7 or what Bill 7 is intending to do. I think we need to find those creative ways to empty out those beds that are needed at a place like Minoawan, but not take it out on people that have to be forced, and that's the word that I've heard being used, to move far away from home. So I urge you to continue to up the pressure, particularly on the promises for long-term care beds here in Sioux Lookout and region. That is a must, and I encourage you to take that battle forward to the appropriate places, and I'll be right behind you if you lead me there. I thank you for listening to me. Miigwech.
Thank you very much, Garnet, and Douglas, thank you. You both expressed, I think, the situation quite clearly. It's not a conundrum, but it's a bit of a situation for the municipality. As you know, municipalities were not responsible for health care. It doesn't fall under our umbrella. But more and more over the years, we've been advocating because of the gaps in service here. And with the change from the LIN system to the Ontario Health Team system, we've been encouraged by the Association of Municipalities Ontario and even by the ministry to engage in these health teams as a municipality, which we're doing. So over the years, we have advocated for things that we don't really have any control over, such as long-term care and home care. I mean, we have such a shortage of both home care and long-term care here, and I would say supported housing and assisted living, etc. And over the years, it hasn't really. It's got worse, not better. 50% of the patients in acute care, of the 54 patients, Mr. Osmond told me a week ago, are alternative level care patients. They fall under this Bill 7. And most of those people, many of them, like you, would like to be at home. It's not that you're refusing to go to a long-term care. Why didn't you give us the support so I can go home? It's just, it's so simple, but it's been so difficult, and the situation it's developed over many, many years, and here we are, and it's critical, and it's not just in Sioux Lookout, it's across the province. I have a friend. I've spent much of my time over the last 4 weeks in Thunder Bay with a very dear friend who's in a situation where I think 2 days ago he was declared alternative level care. He's been in a hospital bed for 5 weeks, but there's nowhere for him to go. And I realized the other day, well, now he's susceptible to be going from Thunder Bay to Marathon or to Atikokan. That could happen there as well. It's certainly at Sioux Lookout. I think all these things are exacerbated in our community because of our sort of remote, small northern location and the pressures we already have. We have 1/10 of the average number of long-term care beds as the provincial average. The average for the population is 6 2/3 beds per 1,000. We have 2/3 of a bed per 1,000 for the 30,000 people we serve, 1/10. We need long-term care and we need home care. The solutions to the what do they call it, hallway medicine, don't lie in the hallways of the hospital. They lie in our homes and in other facilities. The hospitals could be fine if only attention was paid outside to the hospital, the services we need. And you two have certainly made that clear tonight. So thank you very much, Garnet. Douglas, anything final you'd like to say?
I don't believe, I think I do have the latest functional program development submission that we had. Maybe I can just leave it here.
Yep, we'll leave it. The clerk's office will take it and distribute it to council.
Just leave it here with you. And I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity to come and visit you.
We appreciate your visit. Thank you very much. Councillor Timpson.
I'm wondering if it would be appropriate for Douglas and Garnet to stay while we discuss the resolution that we're thinking of putting in, and they may have some suggestions as to more appropriate wording.
They're welcome to stay if they'd like to. It'll take us, and they're also welcome to leave. I understand it might be a long evening. For our purposes, we have two items on the agenda before we get to that. I don't think either one of them are long. I'll leave it up to. I think we'll be there. Depends on council's discussion, but I think we could be there in 10 minutes or so. We'll keep going, and we won't feel badly of you if you leave, and you stay. That's.
I don't have any place special that I need to rush off to, so I will sit and listen.
All right, we'll get going and move along. Staff reports. Electronic monitoring policy. The council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 61-22, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 50-05, being a bylaw to adopt personnel policies for the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux Lookout, to adopt the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux Lookout policy number 3-49, electronic monitoring. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. Discussion starting with Councillor Lego.
Just looking for clarification that this is only for use on municipal property and with municipal property, like computers, and it's not extends outside to monitoring social media or.
CAO, are you?
Yeah, through the mayor warrants, yes, it is within municipal property and buildings that we run.
Okay, perfect. That's all I wanted to know.
Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, and just can you clarify or elaborate a bit on the comment that is made about video cameras and recording equipment, where they say video surveillance equipment will be clearly visible and marked with notices? So are we marking and identifying every camera? Because I don't know if cameras are for security, it kind of defeats the purpose to mark and put a big sign that says camera here, but.
Good clerk, yeah.
Through Mayor Lawrence, to meet the requirements under the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, any facility that does have electronic monitoring equipment would have a general sign, like maybe at the entrance to the facility, but we wouldn't necessarily be saying in every single location where there's a camera. I mean, we would have that discussion with our staff, and most of our staff already know where those cameras are located. But no, there wouldn't be a specific list or identification of every single device for that very reason that it's intended to protect security.
Yeah. It just reads that way. But
we will clarify that.
okay, thanks.
Council, anything further? Councillor Timpson?
No, I answered.
Thank you. Councillor Bath? No. Councillor Fenlon? No. All in favor? Carried. Item 7.3, that council authorizes and directs staff to proceed with completing a fire master plan, including a community risk assessment for the 2023 fiscal year, as outlined in the Emergency Service Manager's Fire Chief's report dated September 21st, 2022. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Bath. Discussion starting with Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Lawrence. Just looking for some clarification on the process. So they come back with the risk outcomes report, and then we review it to make sure it's accurate. Is that kind of the intent of the process?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, that is correct. There'll be a process involving staff and managers on that on the outcome of the report.
Okay, I guess I'm just curious as just how that. It seems that would be something that we would have. They should have capacity to do. I guess it's just we're gonna review those and then develop an action plan on those items that they come back, or will they be providing that? Sorry, that was the next stage there, the final stage, the risk mitigation plan. Sorry. So we review those and then we develop the risk mitigation, or that's developed as part of the.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, there'd be a combination of both. They would probably start off with providing recommendations, and through staff and through managers, we would help fine-tune the mitigation plan.
Okay, and would these consultants be on board with that to provide support, or would they just basically give us their report and say, "Here you go, figure it out"? Or
well,
I don't know. I know. Sorry, it's kind of hard to answer because it hasn't gone up to tender. But what's your thoughts behind it, or how do you believe that process would work?
I've read other reports, and from there they've developed some comprehensive mitigation plans, and I haven't been involved in the process, so I just assume that they would involve a lot more staff on that, and to be able to, because it's really on us to be able to determine what our plans would be, and they would help provide us that direction.
Okay.
CIO, did you have a comment?
Just to help, I've been involved in a fire master plan and not a community risk assessment, but they go part and parcel in a previous municipality, and what happens is through the process they consult with community stakeholders and as well as staff, and they work on the plan together. They make certain recommendations based on their findings and what our risks are, and then those are developed further with staff to put those actions into place with council's approval.
Okay. No, I guess my comments were coming from, I guess, kind of the lens that we're going to potentially be spending $70,000 on someone to develop the plan, and then it kind of read like there would be a bunch more work potentially for staff to take on for that. So I was just trying to clarify where the line was with the consultant working with staff and along those lines. So that's all.
Just moving through, Mayor Lawrence, just moving forward with the plan once it's established. The groundwork is there, and the recommendations are there. There's always been support, like in my previous dealing with a consultant when we did the fire master plan. They discussed in great detail what our options were and where we could go with that plan. And then depending on what we chose to do in the recommendations, then we further developed. If we needed outside help, that's when that came in. So we'd further that. If not, we could do it in-house.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Councillor Lego.
Just in regards to the one-time funding, is this the one-time funding we got a few years ago? And this was allotted back then? Okay. And there's nothing left of that one-time funding? We used it up?
Through Mayor Lawrence, I'll just defer that to the treasurer. I believe we have a small amount left in that fund.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Lawrence, we have still some funds left over that's attached to other projects
All right, thank you.
Council? Councillor Timpson? Councillor Bath? Councillor Fenlon? I have one question related to the master plan. Are we risk assessment? So we've had our flooding, and we've learned what the impacts are from flooding. I'd hate to have a forest fire and we learned what the impacts areas are through the fire. Will this risk assessment help us to assess where our greatest risks are in terms of forest fire and suggest methods to mitigate against that potential?
Yeah, through you, it would be a four-step process identifying the levels, like previous occurrences that would have happened and what the implications are. So the level of I guess, the damage that would occur if it were to happen. So like a flooding that only occurs once every 100 years is low frequency, and but it may have a medium level outcome versus a fire, which is probably would be high frequency and high risk as well for that. So they would identify that in a little matrix, and from there they would identify what the mitigation would be.
Okay, so I'm thinking about specific areas, the boundary of Sioux County, et cetera, that we're going to say, here's a risk area, what can we do? And I'm guessing that would involve working with MNRF on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that we can expect that in this plan.
Well, they would have to identify all our risks and review all our history as well, because there's like multiple steps in there. As part of that community risk assessment is to identify our community profiles, and from there they would look at all our options.
All right, thank you. Councillor Lego.
Yeah, I think the last time Sioux would have been at risk for fire would have been in 2003, when we had the big fire just 7 kilometers north of down here. And they said if the wind was north, then Sioux would have been in very much danger. But we were lucky that we had the sort of southwest winds, and it blew that way for 100 hectares. So
yeah,
we were fortunate at that. But forest fire is a risk. It's happened before. 67, I believe, they evacuated the communities. The potential was there for it to happen.
Council, further comments or questions? Anything further?
No, nothing for me.
All right, thank you. So I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Bylaws. Bylaw number 25-22. We need to, so we're going to have is each of these going to be separate? I can do them all and then call for a motion.
Through Mayor Lawrence, yes, see if they can be read together.
Bylaw number 25-22 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 85-18 as amended. Bylaw number 61-22 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 50-05, being a bylaw to adopt personnel policies for the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux Lookout, to adopt the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux Lookout policy number 3-49, electronic monitoring. Bylaw number 63-22 being a bylaw to execute a payment transfer agreement between the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux Lookout and His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario as represented by the Ministry of the Solicitor General for the CCTV Grant 2022-23. And that bylaws number 25-22, 61-22, and 63-22 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Fanlon, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. And notices of motion to reconsider. There are none. And we have outside resolutions requests for endorsement. So we have help me with this, clerk. So we're going to go, how will we proceed procedurally?
Through Mayor Lawrence, my recommendation would be that each one be dealt with in turn. If council would like, or for the benefit of the members of the public, the resolution could be read aloud, discussed, debated by council, and then voted upon with respect to whether or not there's concurrence to move this forward, these resolutions forward.
Okay, so, and it's the first one that is, it's all in one for the Ontario Bill 7 as one resolution, and that's, I think, of most interest for the public. So I'll read that. Ontario Bill 7, More Beds, Better Care Act 2022. Whereas the Ontario Bill 7, More Beds, Better Care Act 2022 has received royal assent, and whereas Bill 7 allows for hospitals to transfer persons in alternative level of care, ALC, beds to long-term care, LTC facilities, not of their choice, whereas persons who do not consent to such placement will be billed $400 a day for subsequent days in hospital, whereas while government officials have stated that the maximum distance from home that an ALC resident in Southern Ontario would be expected to move is 70 kilometres, the maximum distance for Northern Ontario has been stated to be 150 kilometres. Whereas the Sioux Lookout service area has a population of 30,000 and currently has only 20 LTC beds, which is 1/10 the provincial average, the implications of this legislation for Northwestern Ontario is unknown given the dearth of LTC facilities in the area and could have dire consequences. Resolution, that the implementation of Bill 7 be suspended for the Sioux Lookout area until satisfactory consultation has occurred and suitable regulations protect residents from placement unreasonable distance from their homes or face unreasonable financial penalties. And further, that the province of Ontario fulfill its promise to construct the allocated LTC beds in Sioux Lookout to increase LTC beds to 96 as promised in 1997 in the four-party agreement, 2018 by the Liberal government, and in 2018 by Premier Doug Ford personally while seeking his election. Moved by, we do this as a moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Cassidy, and discussion. I'll start with Councillor Lego then.
Find it, the province has created both problems. So that they're passing this bill, and they also have not provided us with long-term care, move these people to a proper facility, and alleviate pressure within the hospital. So the government has created it also. I would hope that as a council we would support this. And I'm in a bit of a defiant mood as well. So
And further, I would say that they further created it by not providing adequate home care support, as identified, as we know, and emphasized by Garnet this evening.
and home care is a cheaper option for them.
Absolutely. And a better option for people.
Exactly.
Further discussion, Council. Councillor Timpson.
Would it be appropriate for that to be included as a friendly amendment?
The home care part, or which, sorry?
Well, as what Councillor Lego has indicated, that the problem exists because they have not acted on long-term care. We could somehow word that in an appropriate way.
Let's just, okay, well, let's hold on to that thought, and any further discussion? We'll come back to it, Councillor Timpson. Councillor Bath.
The 70 mile and the 150 mile difference is very, very discriminatory, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed. That the price of beer is the same in Toronto as it is here. The price of license plates were the same as they were here. This is completely discriminatory. That needs to be addressed. It's impossible for us to deal with the 150 kilometer mark. It's impossible to deal with the 70 kilometer. In the south, it's very easy to deal with either of those numbers. So I think we need to have that somehow dealt with. That I think how the wording should be, but I believe it should be put on the table.
So I'm just going to make a suggestion what we're asking for is to suspend this until such time as there's satisfactory consultation. Yeah. And we don't need to go into the details of what we'll be saying during we're asking for that consultation, and certainly all of this will be brought up as part of the consultation. So I'm just thinking that perhaps if we keep this just a little bit, I think we say enough here. Either we get the consultation or we don't.
Yep. Okay.
Anything further, Council? So I'm going to go to the public. Anything that Douglas or Garnet would...
Well, I was just thinking here, listening to the presentation of the
In a way, I agree with you, but also we are asking not for the whole bill to be suspended, but for the implementation of Bill 7 to be suspended for the Sioux Lookout area. So it's sort of asking for an exception, is the way you put it. I think that's in there, the way it's phrased. But it's a good point. I mean, sometimes what you ask for is not what you hope to get. You ask for something and then hope you at least get a discussion and you get what you want outside that avenue. Garnet?
Thank you. I like the motion or resolution. However, I do agree that you need to find a process. Suspend, but what's the process and how you're going to address it? That's what my one comment. And I don't think maybe a table, an ad hoc table specifically to address Northern Ontario issues. I'm not sure, but I think the process is what's needed.
Thank you, Garnet. Can I go to you, Clerk, and just ask you, and the resolution phrase where we say, Bill 7 be suspended for the Sioux Lookout area until satisfactory consultation has occurred. Is there a phrase that we could insert in there through to use Garnet's phrase, through a table of common understanding? Or
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, perhaps the resolution could be reworded to say, be suspended for the Sioux Lookout area until a consultation process which is satisfactory to Sioux Lookout stakeholders
has been established. Okay. Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, and that wording, suspend versus exempt, I think my thinking was to give the government sort of an out, a delay. Exemption at this point might just, I don't know, There's people here that know government better than I do, but that was why I used the word suspend. I don't know, so.
I think they'll tell us what they're suspend, exempt, etc.
Suspend means temporarily.
Yeah, temporary, just, yeah. And I think it's...
Which could lead to exempt if we had proper consultation, I would think.
Councillor Lego.
We had discussions with our MPP, Saul Mamaqua, in regards to Bill 7.
That's a good question. I'm trying to remember now. I don't believe I have. I'm not sure of any staff.
And do we know if he's brought this to the floor?
I believe he did. Clerk?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes. My recollection is that MPP Mamqua did highlight to the government that there are serious concerns for the North with respect to the More Beds, Better Care Act. And typically a resolution of this nature would, if endorsed by council, would then be circulated to the MP and MPP and so on and so forth, with the ask that they continue their efforts of lobbying on our behalf based on the resolution. So I think this could be an opening for MPP Mamaqua to take even further action.
Thank you.
Councillor Timpson.
I wondered too if this, we somehow could get this on the agenda for the hospital board to also just discuss or to see where they're at with it and so on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think I won't be able to be there, but you could. I would imagine you could.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Just to mention it. Yeah.
If we pass the resolution tonight, maybe it's too. Could it be forwarded to Mr. Sample? Yeah, we'll forward the resolution to you for reference for tomorrow. Anything further, Council? So we're going to amend it slightly?
Through Mayor Lawrence, yes. So the section that begins with the word resolution tentatively would be reworded to read that the implementation of Bill 7 be suspended for the Sioux Lookout area until a consultation process satisfactory to Sioux Lookout stakeholders has occurred and suitable regulations protect residents from placement on reasonable distances from their homes or face unreasonable financial penalties.
Can I only suggest that we broaden it from Sioux Lookout residents so that we make sure we're talking about Sioux Lookout and the north, the people who would be even more impacted than the people in
And
Sioux.
northern stakeholders?
Yeah.
Certainly. Of course.
Councillor Timpson, you moved the motion. Are you okay with this amendment? Yep. Could be the Sioux Lookout catchment area or
Catchment
northern
area,
catchment area.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Affected stakeholders.
Which would you like?
I
We have
think,
affected
I think
stakeholders,
we-
catchment area, Sioux Lookout or northern communities.
I think Sioux Lookout and northern communities within the catchment area. We need them to know that this isn't just the little town of Sioux Lookout, which usually doesn't have any clout until we include the north. When we include the north, we begin to have some clout.
Very good.
It's a tiny hammer that sounds like this. And they look around and say, what was that? Oh, so we're ready?
Sure. Through you, Mayor Lawrence, just one matter of clarification for staff. So in addition to distributing the resolution to our, I'm guessing our MP, typically these things do go to the MP, the MPP, the Sioux Lookout Minnewalan Health Center Board of Directors, I'm assuming the Minister of Health and Long-Term Care.
Yes.
Are there any other, would the municipality like this circulated to area municipalities, NOMA, KDMA?
I think we should, yes, yeah. I don't think we're alone in our concern here. Our concern is slightly different than, but I'm sure that Fort Francis has a concern, and Thunder Bay has a concern.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So we're good to go. Mover? Yep. All right. All in favor? We're good to go on that. Sorry. We'll leave the distribution. You can fine tune it as you see fit. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have now resolutions regarding the potential redistribution of federal ridings that's come up with hearings in Sioux Lookout on October the 3rd, I think. We have two resolutions here, and Clerk, could you explain the source of these resolutions?
Certainly. Through Mayor Lawrence, there has been a great deal of interest and concern regarding this matter as well throughout our region for sure, and likely northeastern Ontario as well. The first resolution was drafted and endorsed by the City of Kenora, and that was circulated to a number of, to many of the municipalities in the region. The second resolution, which is on page 6, was drafted and endorsed by the Council of the Town of Fort Francis, and that has also been circulated to other municipalities for their endorsement as well. Of course, the resolutions have been reworded in the operative clause to say that the corporation of the municipality of Sioux Lookout as opposed to other municipality names. So it is our resolution once we pass it.
And we're going to decide which one?
Yes, so council could consider passing one or both or none. Neither, sorry.
Has council had a chance to review these resolutions? Everybody is good? Do I need to read them?
Through Mayor Lawrence, if council is comfortable with the content, not necessary at this time.
Thank you. It's just, there's 3 pages of reading here, so. So council, let's, can we discuss these without a motion?
Certainly.
Rather than defeat one? Okay, so let's discuss. Comments on resolution 1 or 2? Start the discussion. Anybody ready to go? Councilor Cassidy? No. So we have put in an application to appear before the committee, which will be on October the 3rd. They're having hearings only for all of the Northwest, only in Sioux and Kenora, which is surprising. Kenora October the 4th, Sioux October the 3rd. The proposed realignment would leave us with Red Lake and Pickle Lake in a northern riding that spanned from the Manitoba border to James Bay, the Quebec border, and would have about, I'm just hazarding a guess, about 60 First Nations and 3 or 4 municipalities. It would also take Kenora and lump it in with Thunder Bay and everything in between. The North would lose a riding, lose a voice. Nobody in the North, I haven't heard any happy voices yet. It ignores much of the geography, the service patterns. It ignores how, I just think about the possibility of joining the Kenora district with the Rainy River district. We have common district services boards. There's only 2, but their boundaries are finite with that area. We would have the Northwestern Health Unit as another area. We would have school boards that operate within that area. And we have a lot of shared and common interests, a lot of different interests, but a lot of shared and common interests. It's a huge geographic area, even as that stands, but that would make a lot of sense to me to be a riding, and then have Thunder Bay and East as a separate riding. Their target is, I believe, 116,000 population per riding. So we're low, and overall in the North, we're low. So they're going from, I think it's 7 to 6 ridings is what they're trying to do. What they ignore is the geography, and I almost think that the land should have a voice as well. Like who looks after the forests? Who looks after the fish, the lakes? There's tourist outfitters who have stakes in this area that know the land. There's the MNR in terms of provincially, it's a different set. What does the city of Peel or Mississauga care about forest fires or the forests? They care, what do they care about mining and its impacts? I think that the land itself needs a voice, and who best to have that voice but the people who live and work on the land. Never mind all the other interests that we have in the sheer geography of trying to, for a representative, you take away our political representation when you have one representative that has to go from Manitoba to James Bay to Hudson Bay to, how do we get to speak to that? Thank goodness for Zoom. I guess that's every meeting would be Zoom, because a representative like that, how would that representative fund getting around, and how would you have the time to get to all those places? Remote access communities, remote communities like ours. And it also ignores the fact that the Northeast and the Northwest have very, very different interests. The city of Thunder Bay is a city of, it could be its own riding. But they'll end up with 2 voices, because it'll be extremely difficult for anybody to get a nomination to a party who comes from Sioux or comes from Kenora. The nomination will come from the city of Thunder Bay. And all the candidates running, in my opinion, the likelihood is that they'll be City of Thunder Bay, and then their interests will be City of Thunder Bay. I'm not dissing Thunder Bay at all. It's just we lose, and the small communities around the North lose. I wanted to try and make that articulate. Those are my basic discussion points when I present before the hearing. The resolutions there are other municipalities are passing resolutions, so. Passing a resolution would be another strong point for us. So, Council, any particular feeling on either resolution? Staff, do you have any comments on resolutions?
Through Mayor Rhodes, only that the second resolution from Fort Francis
And I know they're working to get that message out. It'll be held at the Royal Canadian Legion now, and not at one of the local hotels as originally advertised. And in conversation with representatives from the commission, just a reminder too that if you want to speak at that, you do have to pre-register for the October 4th event. And also, in speaking with the representative from the commission, she advised that you know, the commission is hearing certainly opposition, but that what is being presented truly is draft, and that there is no decisions have been made. I guess the commission has been receiving input that they feel that the consultation is meaningless, and the commission insists that that's not the case. So I just thought I'd share those comments as well.
Very good. So, council, I'm sort of I've leaned towards resolution number 2. If we're going to pass a resolution, that's would be. And when I put in the application ahead, is there a motion asking for forgiveness for me for speaking, or for permission to speak in here? How does that work? Sorry. So as mayor, I have Tiffany has gone ahead and applied to speak, and under the what will I be talking about? It was just I'll be talking about the municipal interests or the municipal point of view related to this riding redistribution, our municipality. And essentially what I will be saying is we don't want to be, and this, if you'd 7-8 years ago, I would advocate for us to be in Kuwaitanung. Based on experience, I think we would be better off south of that line. And this line is certainly, this is an entirely different kettle of fish. Kuwaitanung at least was communities that generally are serviced through Sioux. This is so far and wide that it does us absolutely no good. Councillor Cassidy.
I guess I do agree. I think we should be, I don't think this should happen. My only comment on the second one from Fort Frances is it leans very heavily on the Thunder Bay, Fort Frances. I would like to see something that, and I don't know if it's something maybe looked on in bad taste to amend that, but I just feel like Sioux Lookout isn't really mentioned through that resolution. It's more focused, obviously, from Fort Frances's perspective. I would support it, and I do support it as well. I feel that, and I don't know if we have enough time, I guess, is to that we should have something that reflects Sioux Lookout's perspective on this and our situation, so maybe a little more clearly.
That's a good point. Is there, if we, I think we were looking at sort of like the deadline of the hearing is October 3rd, 4th, but.
The deadline for submissions, though, is September 25th.
So our resolution would be a submission then? Correct. And then that's it. We can, then they take all the material that's been sent and digest it and come up with a second draft? Is that the, okay.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, Councillor Cassidy, just quickly to respond to your question, there would be no offense taken if we were to revise the resolution to either add another clause or reword some of the clause. That's a fairly common practice. So, and in fact, when I did speak with, it was Councillor
Judson.
Doug Judson, who I spoke with, and he sort of indicated that he would anticipate that may occur. Okay. So no concerns in that respect.
Councillor Lego? Yeah.
No, I'm against the removal of a district where we're already underrepresented at the table at the federal level. And more of the mindset that we need to bring the power back closer to the people. So I don't know if that'll ever happen.
For me, with all, like, the needs of the North differ greatly than the needs of the service hub. And that, I think that gets lost when you amalgamate the way they're looking. We have significantly more infrastructure. There's funding, funding that's needed for our infrastructure that is widely different than the infrastructure that is in the far north. The transit, the people here, the highways, whereas the north, it's winter roads and funded through MNDM and different agencies. They're drastically different in the way they operate, and to lump us into that, it creates more of a challenge for us going forward. And I guess that's, and as you alluded to, Mayor Lawrence, the geography, right? And the situation here in Sioux Lookout is our geography. Obviously, we're located closer to vital transportation lines and different amenities. So we have different needs. I think we should potentially add just a line in here, something along whereas the, I'm spitballing here a bit, but it's whereas the community of Sioux Lookout is a service hub for the north and does have different needs than the north would in order to facilitate the continued service, and whereas we would like to, how do I want to say it? We're combining Sioux Lookout with the northern communities in a riding from Manitoba to James Bay would drastically impact the voice of the residents of Sioux Lookout with their unique needs that do differ from the north. Something along those lines. I don't know. It's not perfect. Forgive me, but that is. I'm just giving him ideas. I see him crafting. Yeah.
And in the submission that I make, the presentation that I make, I will certainly be hitting on these key, and that forms part of the record as well. This is Sioux Lookout's presentation.
Yep.
Whenever it's not just waving at the wind. It's recorded, and it forms part of the record, and they must consider it.
Okay, no, that's good.
I will give you a moment, clerk, or
Is there,
Councillor Timpson.
has there been any thought about the cost of flying somebody from Kenora to Fort Albany or wherever? I mean, really, it's crazy. They'd have to go down to Toronto, up to Timmins, and it would take them an entire day to travel there, not to mention how much it's going to cost. There's been just no thought into this. It's crazy. I think, too, that an issue that needs to be brought up at some point, I've always believed that Treaty 9 should be its own writing. The whole Treaty 9 over to the east side and the west side, I think that they would do much better if they had their own writing.
My view is I'll leave them to advocate for what they see fit for them, but I don't disagree with you. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm not advocating. That's my opinion. I'm not going to advocate for them. That's got to come from Treaty 9, but that's what I believe.
But when I present to the committee, I'm not going to say anything about what should be, I'm going to say what's Sioux Lookout, what's good for Sioux Lookout, in my view. And as the clerk said, they have said this is a draft, and it could have been prepared. I mean, it was prepared by somebody in an office looking at population numbers. Okay, how do we get these numbers as close as we can to the writing target population? Oh, if we put all this together, that's pretty close. Good. And they may know very little, or may have considered very little about that. I mean, it's remarkable. You go to Peel or Mississauga, it'll be a 2 kilometer by 3 kilometer riding, 8 square kilometers, and there'll be 116,000 people in it. And if somebody wanted to hold a town meeting or a riding meeting, nobody would be more than a kilometer and a half away. So anybody who wanted to attend, or if the MP wanted to gather people together, or there'd be one newspaper or one common voice, or there'd be 10 stores you could put notices up. Try and do that across what they're proposing. It's so different. Clerk? Almost. Okay.
Few Mayor Lawrence, I know we're not quite there yet, but
All right, so after we do this, council, we have, I guess that's it, then we're just into our report, our reports in a closed session. So we'll declare a recess for 5 minutes and come back and finish this resolution off. Don't forget to turn your microphones off. All right, council, we're good to come back in session at 7 p.m. And clerk, you have a friendly amendment to resolution number 2? We don't have a mover yet, so I guess it's not.
It's
not
a
friendly yet.
a suggestion for consideration as part of the resolution. So, through you, Mayor Lawrence, I would suggest that with council's concurrence, and once council has accepted the additional wording, that it be added after paragraph C of the current resolution, which is on page 7 of your agenda. Draft wording of the additional clause reads as follows. Council is concerned that the reduction of Sioux Lookout representation at the federal level will curtail our ability to effectively advocate for the unique needs of our community and for the many northern communities for who we serve as a critical service hub.
We're good with that? Councillor Lego, yeah? Yes. Councillor Cassidy? Councillor Fallon? Councillor Bath? Yep. Councillor Timpson? Okay. Do we need to read the resolution in its entirety, or can I ask for a motion to adopt resolution number 2 as amended? Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Final discussion? None? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, council. Thank you, clerk. So we're now into reports, councillor reports. Councillor Timpson.
Not too prepared this time. Okay, I attended some events for the mayor in his absence, which was really quite interesting, quite fun. I attended the SLAM opening of its training center, and turning of the sod for one of its residences in Hudson. We had a meeting of the Environment Committee. I worked on the orientation, gave presentations to 2 locum doctors coming here for September. I attended the annual general meeting of the Sioux Hudson Employment. I attended KDMA, but no quorum. And but the 4 of us who did show up discussed how where KDMA should go, and that we would like to discuss this at the next and last meeting of KDMA of this term, to recommend just how KDMA should be operating and where they ought to be going. Then I went to the NAN welcoming of students at the high school yesterday, the students from the north, as well as today, welcoming of students at Pelican School. So that's been my month. It's been actually very interesting.
Thank you. Councillor Bath.
My usual 2 meetings, a PACE meeting and hydro. One of the things that normally we don't discuss hydro meetings in the council, because they really are a closed meeting, but one of the things that came up there was the fact that a lot of the outages are being caused by the trees left along the reserves of the highways. And Mayor, you and I met with the logging industry and M&R, I believe, about 5-6 years ago about that. And this is one of the concerns that Hydro will be bringing to M&R, is that they try to alleviate those roadside reserves. So it's kind of interesting that'll be coming forward. It'll probably come through the municipality, I would suspect.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was a secret I let out or not, but it's out. It's something I've agreed with all along. So.
Thank you. Councillor Fallon.
Had a meeting, not a meeting, but I visited SLAM operation in Hudson, and it was very informative of what they're doing and what they're looking forward to do. And yeah, it was good.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
For myself, it's been some Cedar Bay ad hoc committee meetings. We had a good meeting where the group of us went actually out to Cedar Bay and looked at all the cabins and just talked some ideas through and things we wanted to see. So we're looking to have our first draft back to the committee next week at our next meeting, and we will hopefully be able to bring that draft to council next month. So that is
The final council meeting.
the final council
Okay.
meeting.
Good.
So, and I had environment committee, but I had some email issues, and I showed up to the meeting, but they moved it on me. So, so I wasn't able to make the next one. But yeah, that's all for me.
Thank you. Councillor Lego.
Just the Cedar Bay Ad Hoc Committee meeting, and yeah, we're working diligently to get that brought to council soon.
Very good. And it was the day following the last council meeting that I had a call from Thunder Bay Regional that my oldest friend, who I am the essential care partner for, was in the hospital and suggested I go there. And I'd been on a journey involving his health and lack of health for the last 5 weeks. I have met obligations with respect to council and KDSB and health unit, but I'm very grateful for councillors who are filling in, Councillor Timpson especially. Thank you very much for all the fill-in you've done for me, and I'm glad you've enjoyed it. And I'm sure you've represented as well, and other councillors who come in. I think Councillor Bath, you've been busy coming in for signings and other such things. So, good. Thank you very much. Thanks, Councillor. We now move into closed session at 7:06 p.m. to discuss matters of a general nature, subject matter relating to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, Section 239(2)C, one item property on the south side of town. Subject matter relating to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, Section 239(2)B, one item staffing matters. Moved by Councillor Fanlon, seconded by Councillor Lego. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we turn off our mics. A ratification of resolutions in closed session. The council ratifies motions, direction given to staff relative to the items presented in closed session on September 21st, 2022, as follows.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, that council ratifies direction given to staff respecting proposed disposition of land by the municipality in closed session.
Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. And the bylaw number 62-22 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the municipality of Sioux, September 21st, 2022. Regular council meeting be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Fallon. All in favor? Carried. And thus endeth our second last meeting. And we have one more to go. Is that correct? On this term of council. Are there any? There's no special council meetings? Remains to be seen. Okay.